What's going on, fight fans, and welcome back to the Rusty Cage podcast. Ryan and Greg here for you as always, and we are very excited to have my man Neil Magny on the show to help us preview UFC 311. Guys, it's a huge night of fights, 2 title fights right at the top of the card. Before we dive into all of that, Neil, I want to talk to you a little bit about, what's going on with your career. Obviously, man, you've had a couple of tough fights, your last couple ones out. I spoke to you before the Protez fight, and you felt really good going into that fight. I mean, you're very, very confident, and obviously things didn't go your way, man. What stands out? Like, is there something that you can point towards for, I guess, that performance?
Yeah, I mean, not to say anything from Protest. I mean, he went out there and did a great job. I mean, the guy has 4 fights in UFC, 4 knockouts. So I don't want to dismiss anything that he did well at all and kind of discredit him for what he's been able to go out there and do. But I definitely took notes on things that I can do better and how I can handle that situation next time around. I mean, I'm just in a difficult season of my life right now where I'm kind of playing it year by moment by moment, minute by minute, so to speak. And it's really hard for me to adapt on the fly and make the choices I need to make in a moment, so to speak. Because I have to think like bigger picture, what's next, what's coming up, and all that kind of stuff. And unfortunately, with a sport like MMA, when you're out there competing, that kind of thing, even prior to getting into the fight, you have to act within the moment and do what's best for you within that moment. You can't worry about what's going to happen tomorrow, what's going to happen next week, what's going to happen next month. You have to be present and act within that moment. Unfortunately for me, I've had a difficult time doing that. I mean, I had so much on my plate these last couple of years, and I think it shows. It's the first time in my career where I struggled as much as I did these last 2 years. And I think it's evident in my performances. So for me, it's kind of like embracing the season of life I'm in now, writing down some hopes, some dreams, some plans for this upcoming year, and just kind of starting to clear my plate off, kind of focusing on what's important to me now, and focus on what I can do right now in the near future to get where I need to go.
How much time away do you think you're going to take? Like, when would be the ideal time for you to jump back in there?
Right now it's kind of up in the air. I mean, my personal life is literally all over the place. I mean, I'm just now transitioning to getting different things figured out. I mean, my younger son just started school this semester, so having him in school a couple days a week definitely helps me as far as my training schedule is concerned and that kind of stuff. But it's a lot of adjustments having to figure out on the fly. I mean, I went from being a married father of 2 to being a single dad trying to do it on my own, so to speak. So it's been a lot of moving pieces and a lot of things that are changing on a daily basis. And one thing that I can't do is fall short of being a dad. I mean, that's my most important job. That's the job that I take the most serious. Regardless of what happens with my career or anything else or whatever, I refuse to fail at being dad. So right now, we're just trying to figure out like, all right, cool. How do I be dad and then be a fighter after that, so to speak? So a lot of moving pieces, a lot of adjustments, a lot of planning on how to approach training moving forward and that kind of stuff before I'm able to consider what it looks like to compete again.
Wow, what a great answer, man. Obviously, the important things in life, right? Like your family, your kids. That's what really matters. I'm not a father yet, but Greg, I know you are, man. Can you kind of speak on that? You must have something for Neil.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, I'm endeared. I always liked you, and I know why because I was endeared to you when you were early on in your career, and I watched you fight, and that's when Magny was like a tough name to pronounce. Now you look at these cards now, and I can't pronounce that. Yeah, like what's Magny? Is that Magny? Was that? But yeah, man, and it's the attitude and the vibe that you give of being real and prioritizing things like your kids. I mean, I've sacrificed everything for my family. I mean, that's what you do when you're a dad, and it's good to hear what you're saying, man. I've raised 2 daughters, and there's nothing more important. There isn't. There really isn't. Working with kids and being a good parent. I mean, I wish more people took it seriously. Honestly, I do a lot of work in the community, and I see people that they have kids as an afterthought, and it's sad. It's really sad because they are our most valuable commodity and the future. So, raising 2 good kids. How many kids do you have, Neil?
Just 2. I have 2 boys.
Boys, yeah. Yeah, good, man. God bless you. And I knew that's why I liked you. I mean, style
No,
is
it's cool.
awesome.
It's
Yeah.
cool because like throughout my career, whether it be my personal life or my professional career, I've always liked to model what the guys before me have done. I mean, Matt Hughes had a huge impact on my career based on what he did inside the cage, and being able to look at what my peers have done and what the fighters who come before me have done with their professional career and their personal life. There's certain things that. Are important to me to do now. I mean, look at a guy like John Jones. He's arguably the best fighter to ever do it in the history of the sport of mixed martial arts. And you look at his post from last year, look where he's at in his life and that kind of stuff. The man was arguably fighting for the pound for pound best in the world position or whatever. In addition to that, he's fighting for the undisputed heavyweight title and all that kind of stuff. And you look at his Instagram, look at the interviews he give. One of the biggest moments of his life last year was getting custody of his son. And for me, I know there's no do-over. I don't get a second chance of like, all right, son, now that my career is on the side and it's over, let me go ahead and try to figure out how to be dad now. I had to act in the moment of the opportunity of being dad, and it only gets better day in and day out. And I refuse to kind of let anything kind of take precedence over that at this point in my life.
We evolve, we grow, and we evolve in priorities and things change, and, if you can't recognize that growth and evolving to a new level in your own life, it's not going to help you in any aspect of your life. So
For
I feel
sure.
that,
Yeah.
yeah, man.
I want to ask you real quick too, Neil. Another guy that I've interviewed a lot, and you and me have just started talking over the last year or so. I wish I could have got in touch with you a little bit sooner, but Dustin Jacoby, you look at what he's going through right now. He's a guy that, like cracked the top 15 and was making that march towards a title shot. Then had a couple of losses, falls out of the top 15. Now he's working his way back. When you see someone like him who's in his late 30s making that run now, that huge win that he just had over Petrino, does that kind of give you like motivation and kind of make you feel okay? I don't have to jump back in right now. I can take some time off and make sure I prioritize my family, and I'm still going to have plenty of time to make that next run at a title shot, which is I know what you want.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, and it's not like a lot of times it sounds cliche to say like the setbacks just makes for a bigger comeback and that kind of thing. That's true to a certain extent, but that's only true when you do the work that needs to be done behind the scenes, so to speak. So I have to look at the totality of everything that's going on in my life right now and really ask like, all right, cool, how this affecting my career and that kind of stuff. And what changes can I make moving forward, kind of thing. So I'm making all the necessary adjustments that I could in my personal life to be able to help set me up in a better position when I get back to training full time and that kind of stuff. Something as far as like even like within the last couple months, I moved to a new home and that kind of thing. And like, yes, it's a great home that I'm able to set up a base for my boys and I. But also, it's like there's other things that are going to help my career. I built the home gym where I can do some of the training sessions at home that doesn't involve me having to drive 45 minutes out of my way in order to get that training session in and drive 45 minutes back or whatever. Where like right now, time is of the essence. I mean, my kids are in school for a 4 hour window on the days that I have them. So with that time away from my kids, I have to make sure I'm making the best use of that time. So while they're in school, that's a good time for me to get my skills training in that involves another coach, another training partner, that kind of stuff. But once they come home, once I put them to bed or when I wake up early in the morning, that's a great time to get my strength conditioning done. I can go into the workout room, I get my weightlifting done, I get my cardio done, I get all that kind of stuff done, and then go ahead and wake the boys up, get ready for school and do that kind of thing. So it's not just kind of giving cliche answer like, oh yeah, the setbacks make for a great comeback, but like actually taking the steps and doing what's necessary for that comeback, so to speak. So right now I'm just kind of adjusting my life to adjust to the new changes and set myself up where I can be successful moving forward. I mean, and that's in whatever capacity it looks like. I mean, whether it's fighting, whether it's this, like just kind of set myself up in a position where I'm prioritizing being dad above all else and still able to get the work in to be successful, whatever it is I choose to do.
I love it, man. I love where your mindset's at, and I can't wait to see you back in the octagon whenever that may be. Greg, before we transition to 311, man, is there anything else that you have for Neil?
No, no, I love I love his mindset as well. And, be the best you can be at everything, not just one thing, and
For sure.
prioritize. Yeah, man.
All right, guys. Again, UFC 311 goes down this Saturday in Los Angeles. Two title fights at the top of the card. The lightweight title is on the line. It's a rematch. Islam Makhachev and Arman Sarukian. They fought, I think it was 2019 when they initially fought, and Islam beat him via UD in a 3-round fight. Right now, Makhachev is a minus 370 favorite. Arman plus 295 as an underdog. Personally, I feel like it should be just a little bit closer. I think these guys are, their skill sets are fairly comparable here. Neil, I want to start with you. When you look at this title fight, what do you think we're going to see here come Saturday night?
It's been an exciting fight. I mean, one of the things that we've seen Islam do over the last couple of years is actually evolve his total game when it comes to mixed martial arts. Coming from the background he came with and people he trained like Khabib and Khabib's father and that kind of thing, we kind of put him in a box of being a wrestler. We kind of label him as a wrestler and a grappler and that kind of thing, and kind of wrote him off as being a guy that's able to grapple and put heavy top pressure and that kind of thing. But over the last couple of years, I feel like he's definitely evolved as a total fighter. He's able to strike with the best of them. You see his knockout against Volkanovski, his most recent fights and that kind of stuff. So I feel like he's definitely turned the corner and evolving as a whole martial artist, and not just a guy who has a grappling base and good wrestling, but the total skill set. He can strike, he can wrestle, he can grapple, and he can do it all. I know he has a tough fight going against Armin, but I find it, in my opinion, I could be slightly biased, but I find it very difficult for Armin to go out there and to kind of just kind of use his striking the way he did in his most recent fights to get to beat the guys he's beaten. Same way against Islam. Islam is just, in my opinion, just way too well rounded, and he always has that wrestling pedigree in his back pocket in the event that the fight starts to go south for him.
Mhm. Yeah, that's very true. Greg, what are you feeling about this main event lightweight title fight?
Yeah, I kind of feel the same way. Islam's got he's got multiple ways to do it. I do see it going to another UD decision. That would be my play on that. Even though he did, Darce, Poirier, knockout Volkanovski, he can get it done a lot of different ways, but I think this is going to be another UD 3-rounder, unanimous. That's
Yeah,
my take.
this one's 5 rounds. Do you think the championship rounds are going to be any different as far as like the gas tank goes for one of these guys?
I don't. I think they're both ready for this main.
Yeah.
They're both, yeah, they're both coming in hard and prepared for sure.
Neil, Armin, though, I mean, he hasn't had a 5-round fight in the UFC, obviously. I mean, he's not the champ. He hasn't been fighting for titles. Could that be the difference in this fight? Like, could it be close and then you get to rounds 4 and 5 and that's where Islam starts to take over?
I mean, I think the biggest thing going to this fight is just how well Islam's going to be able to adapt to whatever game plan that Armin comes to the table with. I mean, in the past, if you look at guys who fought Islam, one of the biggest things they were worried about was his offensive wrestling. They're like, man, I just have to keep this guy away from keep this guy away from me in order to be successful in this fight. But you look at his most recent fights, especially against Dustin Poirier, it was the striking that led to the wrestling that led to also him getting the submission finish. And I think the longer that the fight plays out, the more time Islam's going to have to adapt and adjust his skill sets to find a way to be victorious against a guy like Armin. Armin, in the back of his mind, is going to have to constantly worry about, like, all right, cool. I can't get too reckless to my striking because he can take me down. I can't commit to wrestling too much because he may outgrapple me. So I think Islam just has way too many skills going into this fight to allow him to be victorious, in my personal opinion.
Do you think by the time Islam is done, he'll surpass Khabib as far as the way people view him as a mixed martial artist? Or do you feel like, I mean, if they were to fight, if they really were to throw down, do you think Khabib would beat Islam?
I think Khabib has that big brother effect over on Islam. Like, even if at the end of the day, like Khabib could roll the couch being 200 plus pounds right now and be like, hey, brother, I'm still number one, and be able to show why he's the greatest lightweight of all time. I think the one thing that people would never let down also is that one blemish that Islam has on his record as well. Khabib's able to go out 29-0. Islam, unfortunately, has that one blemish on his record that when you compare fight for fight and that kind of thing, though they can always be similar. Everyone can say, oh, yeah, well, he surpassed the number of title defenses that Khabib had. He still has that one loss that everyone can kind of draw back on to kind of say that Khabib was the all-time GOAT.
Yeah. Okay. Fair enough. I can't wait for this fight. For what it's worth, I will say, I'll give it to you, Greg, in a second. I just want to say, I mean, Armin is shredded going into this fight. He's in phenomenal shape. He looks just like me when I take my shirt off, for what it's worth. Go ahead, Greg.
Yeah, it looks like me like 45 years ago. But yeah, when you talk about Khabib and Islam, I go back to like when Islam was coming up and training, like when he was in that training room before he even started really coming up. And I remember Khabib telling him or telling everybody, this guy's going to be champ. Not only is he going to be champ, he's going to be better than me. I think I'd have to go. It's quite a ways back, but I think he said when it's all said and done, he's going to be better than me. So I think Khabib predicted it. But we'll see. Yeah, we'll see where I know that one blemish is the worst. But yeah,
Yeah.
we'll see.
He's got more work to do, and obviously, it all starts here Saturday night with this lightweight title defense. The co-main event guys: Merab Dvalishvili, Umar Nurmagomedov. Merab, the champion, is a huge underdog, plus 250. Umar, the favorite, minus 300. Neil, is that accurate? Should this be a little bit closer as far as the odds go?
Man, this is a fight that makes it more difficult because at the end of it, it's like the one thing that allowed Murat to be so successful in most recent years was his wrestling. His wrestling pedigree is the one thing that allowed him to stand out amongst the rest of the division. I mean, the guy went out there and out wrestled uh, Olympian in Henry Cejudo, and made it look easy in some cases. Like he literally carried the man across the cage and slammed him in front of his coaches, so to speak. So when you see what Murad was able to do with his wrestling pedigree over the last couple of years and last couple of fights, it's definitely hard to dismiss what he's done. But also when you have a guy like Umar that comes to the table, he trains it like the guys that could be even Islam. I mean, there's the old saying in mixed martial arts and other sports and other aspects of life too about iron sharpening iron. When you're training alongside Khabib every single day, training alongside Islam every single day, it's hard to imagine that you're not going to pick up a couple of things when it comes to the wrestling, and you're not going to be able to be down the rest of yourself. So just based on the people that he's surrounded by on a daily basis, on a consistent basis, I feel like that's be a huge factor into that in this fight. In addition to that, Umar was pretty successful in the Corey Sandhagen fight, avoiding the big, powerful shots that Corey's able to throw out there. And even a guy like Corey's very skilled at striking. I mean, the guy's not only like has precision, he's very versatile in striking as well. So the fact that Umar was able to negate that kind of stuff and still find a way to close the distance to get the fight to the ground, I feel like that's going to be one of the things that's going to make going to make Merab struggle in the fight come Saturday night, and might be one of the reasons why they have Umar as a favorite currently.
Yeah. Oh man, I just can't wait to actually see what happens and what transpires in this fight. I mean, obviously, Marab has the better resume, right? He's fought collectively the tougher guys. And when you look at who Umar's beat, that one guy is Corey Sandhagen. I mean, yeah, he's beat Hani Barcelos, but like Nate Maness, you can't really compare who he's beaten in the UFC to who Marab's been in there and been battle tested with. Is that fair to say? Do you think that could play a difference in a championship fight with all the lights as bright as they will be?
No, absolutely not. I mean, I found out the hard way that MMA math does not work. I mean, it's cool to kind of have that cap in your feather, so to speak, when it comes to who you share the outcome with and that kind of stuff. But you just never know. You just never know what the guy was going through at the time that that fight took place and that kind of stuff. And what I'm noticing is like you're only as good as your last fight. I mean, what you do throughout training camp and your focus and where you're at physically, mentally, emotionally, it plays a huge factor in how you perform come fight night. And being in camp alongside Islam, I think those are just things that are going to kind of add to his pedigree, add to the skills that he already possesses. I mean, you don't it's very rare that you'll make a mistake coming from a camp like the place that Umar and Islam come from. But when you guys have both been training camp together, I can only imagine what that room looks like and the amount of accountability that's taking place in that room. So being able to go and training camp alongside Islam, I think that's a pretty huge factor as far as like where he's at physically, emotionally, mentally, and the kind of fighter we'll see come Saturday night.
Yeah, makes a lot of sense. Greg, what are you thinking about this title fight?
Yeah, I totally agree with Neil. Like Marab doesn't have a lot of ways. He's got to find a way to beat him. He's got like an 80% decision rate, right? Like so, most of his fights are by 80% of them by decision. Uh, so obviously he's not going to be the Corey Sandhagen thing that you said about him, defending those strikes, because Corey is kind of a funky striker, different angles, and he handled it real well. So that doesn't leave Merab with a lot. The other factor that I don't think we talked about was, yeah, these two guys are fighting in the main, the co-main, and what that does to lift up a teammate, how you feed off your brother's energy in the room, in the fight. Like, I think you get an extra burst of energy when you have other people from your gym that you've struggled with fighting on that same card. So I think that lifts you up a little bit more, gives you more of an edge. I don't think the odds are accurate. I think probably he's still a favorite, but maybe not by that much. But I think you add all those together, I think that's a really solid bet, Umar.
So you're going Umar. Neil, it sounds like you're going Umar as well. I mean, look, it's when you got a guy with the last name Nurmagomedov who's never lost, it's hard to say, oh, he's going to suffer his first loss. But I will say, if there is one guy in the division right now that could get it done because of how weird his style is and how he's just nonstop pressure and he's so well rounded, it's Merab. That's why I'm just so intrigued about this fight. Is from a betting perspective, I love Merab. I love Arman. Just from a betting perspective, I don't necessarily think maybe they're going to win, but you're going to make money if you do bet on them, right? You can't bet, Neil, because you're an active.
Unfortunately, I can't.
Yeah. But me and Greg, yeah, we can potentially try and win some money. So it's going to be interesting, those two title fights.
Well, that's who to bet on. That's fine.
Another fight, guys, that really it could be the winner could be getting a title shot is Yuri Prohaska and Jamal Hill. Right now, it's pretty close. Jamal Hill minus 130 as your favorite, Yuri plus 110 as an underdog. Neil, I wanted to get your thoughts on maybe Jamal Hill's mentality going into this fight because we just saw at the UFC. Performance Institute recently. He got into it a little bit with Poatan. Is his? Do you think just maybe from like what you've seen that his mind is focused on Yuri right now, or do you think he's still kind of hung up on that loss?
No, I think he's playing it well, and I think his actions that we've seen most recently, from the antics at the UFC PI to recently, I can't remember who it was, but there was a gentleman in Las Vegas that was having a birthday party recently, and in the photos you see on social media, you see Jamal Hill was in the photos as well, and that kind of thing. I think he's kind of embracing what he's going to have to deal with on fight week to help him perform best mentally when the time comes. I mean, with the way like suffering a loss, I mean, it's one of the I don't want to say it's the most difficult thing to do in all of his life, but it's not easy. Like I mean, it takes a toll on you mentally and emotionally. It's a very difficult thing to overcome, and especially with all of the hate that Jamal Hill received after that loss, it kind of like it almost vilified him almost. I mean, he went from being a guy like, oh man, we like this guy's background story, we like this, we like that, to a lot of fans kind of turn their back on him, so to speak, to the point that he was like would get booed when the camera pans towards him at UFC events or whatever. Like whenever he's sitting case side and the camera pans toward him, you can hear the crowd's reaction, booing him and that kind of thing. So seeing that reaction from the crowd, seeing that reaction from your peers, you have to put yourself in this mental space where, all right, cool. How do I embrace those boos in the event that they come? And I think Jamal Hill did a good job of doing that. He's kind of embraced his whole villain personality. He's like, oh, cool. You guys gonna boo me? Cool. Boo me some more. I love it. I love it. I love it. Kind of embracing it where it allows him to stay focused on the task at hand. So I think he's doing a good job of kind of like playing the role of like, oh yeah, I'm still bitter and stuck up on his loss. And in the back of his mind, he's like, man, I want that back. In order to get that back, I have to get to Yuri first. I'm doing everything I can to be successful against Yuri, while still in my mind playing out the fact that I may get booed on fight night. I may get booed going into the fight, into the press conference. I may get booed at weigh-ins. These boos may come, but I'm in a great place right now where I'm here to embrace those boos and still go out there and shock the world, deliver a great knockout, and have people love me again. So I think he's kind of creating this character in his mind that he needs to be in order for him to go out there and be successful come Saturday night.
Okay. Do you think he gets it done? Do you think he gets the win? Do you think he finishes Yuri?
Absolutely. I think he actually gets it done. I mean, I think Yuri might be a little more distracted than Jamal is. I mean, you watch Yuri in some of his recent interviews. He's eyeing moving down to 185 pounds. He's already mentioning some of the guys he could fight at 185. And over the years, I've come real accustomed to like listen to what guys say in its totality rather than what they want you to believe, so to speak. So here he is walking to a fight at 205, but he's already said in multiple interviews that he's ready to go down to 185 and see what's there for him there. So in my mind, I feel like he's already mentally checked out of the 205 title picture. I mean, you've lost to the champ twice and that kind of thing. I think he's already ready to transition to that 185 weight class, see what he can do there. So if I were able to and had money to put up, I would definitely go put it on Jamal Hill. And I would definitely say Jamal Hill's able to get the job done Saturday night with the finish.
All right. I can't wait to watch that one. It's going to be fireworks. Greg, where are you leaning?
Neil just screwed up my parlay, but because now I'm not, because I was thinking like Yuri's got a really high knockout rate. You know, he's got a really good knockout rate, and all of Jamal Hill's fights ending KO when he loses. You know, so when he loses, it's by KO. So I was kind of leaning towards Yuri, and you know, I really both of these guys been knocked out by Alex, you know, so it's a great fight. I love it. I was leaning towards Yuri, but now Neil's got me all confused, so I gotta go back handicap again. And I really I love the way you break it down. I love your mindset of Jamal using the booze as fuel, right? Like that's so important. Like whatever you get, you gotta turn that into a positive. If it's booze, all right, man, boomy. I'll show you what's up. You know, so yeah, I'm confused, but I'm still gonna go with Yuri. I just might not
Nice.
play it so hard though.
I'm staying away from this one from a betting perspective. I think it could go either way. Someone's getting knocked out. I don't know who it is. It's one of them. One or the other's going to go down. I'm staying away from it. To go back to what you said, Neil, about Yuri going down to 185. I don't know how that man can make 185. He's huge. He's a big 205er. So that to me, I mean, wow, that would be amazing just to see him go down there. One other thing I wanted to get your take on about Jamal Hill. He was offering 20 grand for these trolls to come and spar him. Did you see that? And have you ever had any trolls talk junk to you about your fights and saying that they could beat you?
No, I mean, been very fortunate not to. I mean, even peers of mine, even guys that compete in the same weight class as me, it's kind of like on the internet, like, hey, Neil's this, Neil's that, and we meet in person, it's like, oh, hey, buddy, hey, pal, how you doing, bro? I mean, the tone changes rather quickly, but I'm a super humble guy. I mean, I have no reason to kind of entice someone to go out there and do it. And at the end of the day, like, I'm my own worst critic. Like, I can go out there and say, like, look, I lost this fight because X, Y, Z. This person did this well. I did this incorrectly, and this would led to the outcome, whatever. I'm not ashamed to admit when I'm wrong, so to speak, and I'll admit those moments where I'm wrong in order to not make that mistake again and move forward, so to speak. So there's never a reason for someone to troll me. Someone like, you know what I mean? It's like in my most recent fight, like, ha ha, you got knocked out. I was like, yes, I did get knocked out. I got knocked out because of X, Y, Z, and I'm working on those things to make sure it doesn't happen again, kind of thing. So I never put myself in a position where a troll's opinions invalidate any way towards me or whatever. Like when you're your own worst critic, like there's not much a troll can say and or do to really get you out of your element, so to speak.
Yeah, just social media nowadays. I don't even go on and look at the comments because there's just so many people that have an opinion and have negative things to say. It's just too much negativity. I just try to stay on the positive side of things.
For
Um,
sure.
again, so both you guys, well, actually, you're split. Greg, you're going Yuri. Neil, you're going Jamal. I'm not making a pick because I don't know who's going to win this one. I do have a pick on this next one. But Neil Dariush and Hanato Moicano. I have become a huge Moicano fan. It might be. I mean, I love his fighting style. What he did to BSD was amazing, but he is hysterical. Like his post-fight press conferences, like the in cage interviews that he does, the guy is a riot. So I have to cheer for him every time he's going out there. But I think he gets it done. I'm not so sure that Beneil is the same fighter that he was even a few fights ago. He's even talked about retirement. He's hinting at it. I don't know that the trajectory for him is going up like it is Moicano. So I think Moicano gets it done. Greg, let me ask you first on this one. Do you agree with me or do you feel like the old veteran Dariush gets the win?
I like to go with the veterans usually because of my age, but I'm going to go with Moicano. I've become a huge fan also in his last couple of fights, just how how he handles everything. So yeah, I would go with you with Moicano, but tough fight, not an easy fight. This is obviously no walkover when you're fighting a veteran like Beneil Dariush, but I'll go with Moicano. I'd love
Okay.
to hear the breakdown too.
Yeah. Neil, where are you leaning?
Man, I spoke too soon. I was like, yeah, I don't have anyone that I'm really like rooting for in a biased way or kind of friends with that I want to see win this fight. But this one kind of slid under the radar. Yeah, I forgot about this fight for a little bit. But with this one, I had to go with Beneil. I mean, for many reasons. One, I'm probably risking being biased because of his nice relationship. But in addition to that, I feel like he's taking the necessary approach to his return. And he didn't rush anything. I mean, he suffered those two knockout losses, but he didn't rush back. I think it's been almost a year, a little over a year,
Over a
since
year.
he last competed. He took the time to spend to be with his daughter, be with his family, and all that kind of stuff. And he's transitioning back to being able to train now. So with him taking a and what I think, and him taking a conscious approach as far as like, all right, well, let me go ahead and make sure I'm recovered and trained and prepared to go out there and do it again. Especially when you have those conversations of retirement or whatever. It's a difficult place to find yourself. I mean, heck, I'm in the same boat. So when you when things like that happen, you sit there and you're alone with your thoughts for a bit, and you have one or two options. You sit there and you lick your wounds. He's like, man, that sucked. I don't know if I can do this anymore. Maybe it's time for me to hang him up. And then the other voice in that case like, no, we're not done yet. We still got some fights in us. Like this one needs to get done, or if we get to the next level, sort of thing. And you start kind of executing your game plan, not in a sense of like the fight itself, like in life on how to get back on track, so to speak. And I feel like Darnush taking the time that he did to recover, get his mind right, get his body right, get his focus right, get his family affairs in order, and all that kind of stuff. I think that's going to actually allow him to really develop the fighter that he needs to be, the fighter that he's once was, and even better right now. And I'm excited to see him go out there and kind of show the world the more evolved version of him. I mean, he's not too old for the sport by any means. We've seen guys his age or older accomplish great things. So I think the time away from the sport, the time focused on his family and other things, will be a good thing for him. And we're going to see a new and improved Darnush come Saturday night, in my opinion.
Okay. I've always been a big fan of Dariush as well, and he just seems like a good human being. I know, he's a God-fearing man. He's family man. Like, so I've never spoken to him, but again, from the outside looking in, he just seems like a really good guy. And the crazy thing too, a lot of people want to say he's older than he is. I think it's just because of the salt and pepper hair he's got going on. But him and Moicano are the same age. They're both 35. So for what it's
Yeah.
worth, yeah, for what it's worth, that could play a factor. Dariush might not be over the hill. Maybe he's going to make another run at this, but I'm just going what I saw with that BSD fight. My God, Moicano looks like the real deal. So I can't help it. The guy cracks me up. I like funny, and he's funny.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I was surprised this fight wasn't like a toss up or a split. I mean, they're both so equally matched in almost every aspect. I mean, the grappling, the wrestling, the striking. I for sure thought to be a lot more closer than the odds. I think the biggest factor that may have Marcano as a favorite is just how his last two fights paid out and the time off with their news. But on paper, these guys are very similarly skilled. I mean, even rankings wise, they're 9 and 10. They're right there
Yeah.
neck and neck with each other. I think this is it's gonna be a very close fight. Might even have fight night potential written all over it as well.
For sure. Right now, the odds are Moicano is the favorite, -175, Dariush +150. We'll keep it moving, guys. Kevin Holland, Reiner de Ritter. This is essentially a pick 'em for what I'm seeing right now. Kevin Holland has had 23 fights in the UFC. This is de Ritter's second. And, we saw what happened in the Gerald Meerschaert fight in his debut. He had some really nice moments and everything, but I think if you're on the de Ritter side of things, maybe that wasn't his best performance, and he's got to be on his A game if he's going to beat Kevin Holland, a well-rounded fighter, someone that's been, fighting at this level for a really long time. What's your take on this fight, Neil? This is your weight class. This is 170. Who do you think gets the dub?
No, this is actually a 185. I believe it's 185.
Oh yeah, it is. Yeah, okay, my
Yeah,
bad.
oh
This
yeah,
is a
yeah.
middleweight fight.
But yeah, that the last fight against Meerschaert definitely I don't want to say exposed. I don't use that word. It definitely showed some holes in De Ritter's game when it comes to the striking aspect of it. But with that being said, he made some pretty drastic changes on there. I think he was able to break that fight with Gerald and say to himself, like, "Man, my striking wasn't crisp, it wasn't clean, everything else like that." And he reached out to his fellow Dutchman to figure, like, "Man, my striking is not where it needs to be. What do I need to do?" And I think he did either majority of his camp or all of his camp with Henry Hoofer's fight. And I think one of the things that he wanted to focus on was that striking aspect of it. So knowing that he has the grappling in the bag, he needs to work on the striking and seeing the choice that he made to move down to Florida and train with Henry Hoof. I'm imagining that we'll see a lot more improvement in his striking compared to his last fight. But based off what I saw in the last fight against Gerald and what I know Kevin Holland is capable of, based off the 23 fights I've seen of his in the UFC, I would have to go with Kevin Holland this fight, just because of the striking differences that I've seen in the last two fights. I mean, or in the last fight, sorry, in the last fight. I mean, I feel like Kevin Holland right now is just the more rounded striker. I'm sorry, he's the more well-rounded fighter, and he's definitely the better striker of the two, based off of that last fight. So if I had to pick one, I would definitely go with Kevin Holland going into this fight.
Yeah, that's where I'm leaning to. Greg, what do you think? Making it 3 for 3?
No, 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 no. I'm not going that way.
Never.
That would be the spoiler. But yeah, I mean, I can't argue with a lot of the stuff, but I think Kevin Holland, in my mind, he's an emotional fighter. Obviously, he's a funny guy. You talk funny in the cage, man. That dude, he's hysterical the way he talks to people. I like that attitude, but I think sometimes that works against you. I think sometimes he gets in his own head a little bit, and I'm going to go with the Ritter just by a sub. I think he's going to sub him. So I do realize that's why it's a pick 'em, because he's got to deal with the striking of Kevin Holland, which is not easy. But I think once he gets past that, I know his camp is probably focused on that. I'm sure they are. And once they get past that, I think it's going to be a sub.
What's the prop bet on that? Do you have that in front of you?
I don't. I can try and pull it up for sure.
Yeah. Pull it up while we talk a little bit about a couple of fight cancellations. You were right, Neil. Johnny Walker and Bogdan Guskov has been canceled. Walker is injured.
No.
Yeah. Also, Zach Reese and Cedriquez Dumas has been canceled. Dumas withdrew. So two fights I was looking forward to taken off of the card here. But Peyton Talbot is a guy that is one of the biggest prospects in the sport right now. He's a massive favorite, minus 1,050 against Hani Barcelos, plus 725 as an underdog, which is, I mean, that's crazy. Like, Hani Barcelos is a veteran. He's been around for a really, really long time. I'm just curious what Neil's take is on that. It looks like we lost this camera right now. Can you still hear us, Neil?
Yes, I can still hear you guys. I stepped off camera to grab a charger. My phone was
Oh,
down to 5%. Sorry.
gotcha.
I can tell while we're waiting for Neil to come
Yeah,
back.
yeah.
I can tell you that the Ritter by sub is plus 350,
Is it?
and
Okay.
obviously I think Holland by TKO is the good money at plus 185 or 165 or something. Yeah, 165. So yeah, I mean, this looks like the odds are with Holland getting a KO, but right next to that is De Ridder with the sub, or by decision, actually 240 by decision and sub at 350. So his wrestling or his grappling is going to be something for Holland to deal with. But
Yeah.
yeah, we can move on to the next fight.
Excited for that. That fight will actually kick off the main card. So, Neil, what is your take on Peyton Talbot? How good is this kid?
Man, I think he definitely has what most people would say is an it factor, so to speak. I mean, the kid is talented, and he's just very marketable, and he's in a great place right now. I mean, I think he has some really good people around him, and he just keeps showing like this the signs of what the complete fighter needs. I mean, I know the last couple fights he had were all won by knockout. We haven't really seen his total game just yet, but I feel like he's definitely has the total package, and that's why the UFC is going so heavy with promoting him and trying to find him favorable matchups and that kind of thing. Not to say that this is an easy win for him by any means, but I definitely feel like he has like I said, just that it factor about him. He's just able to go out there and just get it done by any means necessary.
Yeah, he does. He looks like a future star. And again, with that tagline, minus 10,000, excuse me, 1,050. I mean, he needs to go out there. He definitely needs to get this win. He doesn't want to lose when he's that big of a favorite. Neil, I also wanted to get your take on the Grant Dawson, Carlos Diego Ferreira fight. We've had Grant on the show before. Really nice guy. And, he's looking really good. I mean, he's a guy that, he cracked the top 15 in the lightweight division. He's an unbelievable wrestler, grappler. He trains at American Top Team. He's got a bunch of killers around him. This is an interesting fight with Ferreira. Right now he's a fairly decent favorite. Where did it go? Plus 215 is Ferreira as the dog. Grant Dawson minus 255 as the favorite. Do you have a take on that fight? Do you expect Grant Dawson to win?
Yeah, I would definitely expect this fight to favor Grant Dawson. I mean, had it not been for that fight against Bobby Green or King Green, sorry, had it not been a fight against King Green, I think he would still be undefeated in UFC, or maybe he has one other blemish. But he's been the complete fighter so far. I mean, his grappling and his wrestling has definitely been his strong suit. But every fight he goes out there shows just a little bit more of the work he's been doing over the years, and it shows time and time again. After that King Green fight, he definitely went back to the drawing board, so to speak, and kind of tried to like I don't want to say reinvent the wheel, but he definitely revamped his mindset and his training regimen. So where it's like, all right, cool. If I should win these fights, what do I need to do to ensure that I win these fights, so to speak? And I feel like since that fight against King Green, he's been doing just that. I mean, he's been honing in his skill sets, honing in his training, really just kind of narrowing in what needs to get done for him to be the total package and kind of become a top contender in the lightweight division. And I definitely see him having potential to do so.
Yeah, I got Grant winning this one. Greg, you feel the same way?
Yeah, yeah, I think he's on a trajectory to be a future, at least top three. So I think he's on that path. So yeah, I do have him winning this fight definitely.
All right, Greg, give us a parlay, the Kaze Kingpin parlay. What do you got for UFC 311?
It starts with Grant Dawson. Oh my God, check this out. Then it goes to Moicano, and then Jamal Hill, because of Neil.
Let's go.
Good shit, man. That's the three-way parlay.
What does that hit? If you put down $10, what do you win?
Probably 20. They're all favorites. No, I'm kidding. If you put down 10, I think it pays 40 or 50.
Okay. Yeah.
It's not one of my it's not my dog day underdog picks. This card is a little different for me. I don't see a lot of surprises on here.
Yeah.
I see a lot of favorites on this one.
Well, I'm
There you
looking
go. Should be the difference maker for you.
there you go.
Yeah,
That's right.
it goes the other way, man. I'm gonna call you up, man, and trolling you. No.
No, don't do that. Don't troll Neil. Neil, we appreciate it, man. Thank you for joining us and talking about this card. Obviously, we didn't hit every fight on the undercard, but we talked about a lot of the fights. We focused on the main card here today. Where are you watching the fights this Saturday? Are you staying home? Are you getting together with some of your teammates? What's the plan?
Yeah, staying at home. I'm on dad duty this weekend, so we're staying home watching this fight. I mean, we'll enjoy the day, put the kids to bed, and kind of enjoy some wings and pizza sitting on the couch watching the fights this weekend.
Awesome, my man. Well, enjoy the fights again. Thank you so much for doing this. Come back and join us again down the line if you would.
For sure, absolutely. It's a pleasure meeting you, Greg, as well.
Yeah, nice meeting you, man. A pleasure, real pleasure.